with. The one thing that I want to dive a little deeper into is this how to believe in yourself.
Mm.
Um, I think there's a ton of people watching live right now. They're obviously resonating with what you're saying. The next step is like, okay, I get it. Yes. But like, how? What were some steps that you yourself have taken, or what are some steps that you bring your clients through to start to tippy toe into what that looks like to start believing in yourself, right? To go from being hyper vigilant about knowing where your man is, or, territorial in the workplace or whatever it is, to shifting into I am worthy and it doesn't matter and I'm fine with or without.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big shift. Like, it's easy to say, but
Right.
that's a big shift. What are some little things that you can give some advice as far as how we can start doing that?
Yeah. So there's so many things, and almost always the answer is not outside, it is within.
Mm.
And it starts with I know. So the way it started for me was that I started noticing areas in my life where I felt like I wasn't showing up as the best version of myself. And so for a long time, for probably almost a decade, as I was almost like self-coaching, self-analyzing, and I would stay home on weekends and write in my journals, there was one question that I asked myself over and over again. And that question was, who is the most powerful and authentic version of me? And I would close my eyes and I would visualize that woman, that bad bitch who had this confidence, generosity, abundance, light. And she knew who she was. She knew what she wanted. She was out there kicking ass, like didn't doubt her or second guess herself. And then I would open up my eyes and I'm like, wow, I am so far from that right now. um, and so the first thing is always really like, who is the woman that you could be, that you can imagine? And then looking at your life at the present moment and saying, what does it take for me to start embodying that today? What's one thing I could be doing differently? What would that version of me be doing? How would that version of me handle this situation? And this is a constant iterative process because, for example, I would go into a situation and perhaps I would get reactive. And then I would reflect on it and be like, that was not the bad bitch version of me.
Mm.
Why did I react like that? Or why did I allow my boundaries to be crossed again? Why did I stay silent in those moments? Why didn't I say no? Why did I say yes when I wanted to say no? What part of me, what conditioning, what brainwashing within me made me feel like it was unacceptable for me to state my true desires, or to be my biggest self? And a lot of times it still came down to fear of what other people thought of me, fear of people thinking I would be a bitch if I said no, if I wanted to prioritize myself, if I said, you know what, my dreams come first, if I said, I just, this is not for me. And so I think this is really where it starts with just even that one question: who is the most authentic and powerful version of me? What does she look like? What does she wear? What does she do on a day-to-day basis? How does she interact with people? How does she feel about herself? What is her internal narrative? So start analyzing, how do you speak to yourself? Are you negative? Are you critical? Do you look in the mirror and then notice all your flaws rather than complimenting yourself, pumping yourself up? You need to become your own best friend and your hype woman, because that's how you start to have that backbone of, you know what, I got me. Like if everything else fell apart in the world, I would still trust myself. I would still have my own back. And there's nothing quite like knowing that in your deepest core that, you know, you'll be okay. And so this also goes to the money mindset stuff, where I have, again, like I've been in those places where I would make a ton of money and then I would reinvest all that money. And I love investing in like coaching programs, educational programs, like things to level up my spirit and my knowledge. And so then I would like spend. And I then like you would pivot, and then I was like, oh, this isn't working. But there's always something in me that I also write about this in my book, about the willingness to invest in yourself monetarily, because and I don't necessarily mean like buying a designer bag or something. Although if that's going to make you feel better and you're not doing it out of avoidant or like guilt spending, do it. But you are your most valuable asset. And so part of what you do when you trust yourself is that you invest in your growth, right? You invest in coaching, you invest in mentors, you invest in education, up leveling your skills. And you know that if you have your own back and you're a smart bitch, you will always be able to find a way to make money, right? Especially with the internet. Yeah. You can always find a way. So there's never a chance that you're going to go homeless, right? Absolute worst case scenario for, let's say, the majority of women who are listening to this show, you're probably not going to end up sleeping on the streets, right? Even if your bank account goes to zero, you hopefully have friends, right? Family or people who care about you who would not allow that to happen. So if that's the absolute worst case scenario, then what really do you have to lose by going after something? What someone's saying that like, I don't like you, I don't like your brand, I don't like your product, I don't want to buy.